Cheating at the World Series of Poker Round 2. How this long-time infamous angle shooter has struck once again. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Breaking News with Close to Bro. Before we get into today's video, I just want to give you guys a massive shout out for the support. You guys are the freaking best. And today's video is a crazy one. I've done my best to round up all of the facts to be absolutely perfect. I've asked very many people very close to the situation, and I've even gone as far as asking the victim in this circumstance, myself personally, and we're just awaiting a response. There has been another very sketchy incident at the World Series of Poker. Seems like it's almost plaguing the place at this point. A big thank you to Poker.org who put a beautiful story together. The link will be in the description if you guys want to read that article piece. Shout out to Dave Woods who put this together, but here goes nothing. A player by the name of Brian Smith goes all in with Jack 5 of spades from the under the gun position for 4.5 million chips. Another player decides to raise him, an isolation raise to 10 million with ace king, and another player, Mr. Men the Master, a longtime poker player and a longtime alleged angle shooter, goes all in for about 25 million. The action is back to Mr. Foudy, who decides to ask Menwin, "Hey man, what's going on over there? How much you got, pal?" Menwin responds with a very wonderful "I don't care." Foudy decides to make the call, and just like that, we have a 55, 60 million-ish chip pot going on right in front of us. What we should say is that the main pot is significantly less. Let's do some math here together to make this as simple to understand as possible. Phone is right here. I'm right here with a very big Indian nose, if you can tell. 4.5 million, right? 4.5 multiplied by 3. We got 13.5 million. That does not include the antes and the big blind and the small blind. Let's figure that out. Seems like the big blind was 1 million. The small blind was 500,000. And then if you do the big blind ante, that has to be another million. So that's 2.5 million in blinds and antes. Once again, no trickery here. 4.5 million times 3 plus 2.5 million in blinds and antes. I mean, if my math is correct, that's about 16 million. The report here says a little less, but I don't think they accounted for the big blind ante. All that being said, 16 million. I think we can all agree to that. Pretty easy math. The main pot here is the big blind, the ante, and the effective player stack, which is Brian Smith here with 4.5 million 3 times. Everyone that's involved in the hand has to match it. That goes to the main pot. Now, the side pot between these other players is going to be roughly 40 million. 25 million, 5 million goes to the main pot. If that makes sense, 20 million and 20 million on the side equals about 40 million. Hopefully we're all good there. Now that we got all the numbers right, the flop comes out, turn comes out, no one improves, and by a grace of the poker gods, Mr. Smith hits a 5 on the river. This is huge because he was up against 2 ace kings and was somehow able to suck out and win a massive pot to triple him up and get him in a comfortable position. At least that's what he thought. That is actually not what happened. As you can see from the video right here, he's excited, he's jubilant, if that is even a word, kicking his legs up and down, punch in the air. No one can stop this young man until Men the Master did. Men the Master pulls his chip stack back in. Obviously, they're chopping the side pot, but it seems like he's also pulling back his 4.5 million that is owed, allegedly, to the gentleman, Mr. Smith. Obviously, that should have been taken into the main pot by the dealer immediately, but it seems like obviously that was not the case. Allegedly. So after that massive debauchery of a situation, Mr. Smith in all his excitement settles into his seat and realizes very quickly that he is absolutely shortchanged. He's, in my calculations, shortchanged quite a bit. When he sits down and assesses his stack, he only has around 10 million chips. And as you guys can sort of figure it out by this point, that is significantly less than what he should have gotten. At the bare minimum, he should at least get a triple up, right? From the effective number that he had. That doesn't even include the 2.5 big blinds that comes from the blinds, the ante, and the small blind. Yeah, kind of shitty. So obviously something got messed up here. Is this just an accident? Is this something that could have been, I guess, missed, or what happened really? From what I've seen from the forces and the soldiers I've asked on person, this ain't the first rodeo for Mr. Men the Master. This is not just some older gentleman that maybe got a little mistaken by the situation and maybe made a slight boo-boo. From what I understand, what I have personally seen in the tournament series on this side of the world, and what the soldiers on foot have shared with me, this ain't his first rodeo, and he's done some stuff like this before. Allegedly. All this to be said, after a really confusing situation, the tournament staff tells Mr. Smith, hey, don't worry about it, we'll get it situated once we do this table redraw. And Smith's like, yo, what the hell, man? I'm like missing a third of my stack. I'm at 10 big blinds with my current stack. Those extra 5 big blinds are a massive difference in how I approach this tournament. Made a big deal out of it, and I'm super happy he did, but didn't really help him out too much. They paused the clock for 15 minutes, and after reviewing the cameras, which they obviously didn't even do that, they ended up returning him 2 million chips and extra chips, which got him to around 12 million, which obviously is still 3 to 4 million shorter than what he should have got for winning the main pot outright, which he did. So all of this is really confusing, and all of this is really worrying, especially because of the culprit at hand. When Men the Master is involved in this ain't his first rodeo, as I mentioned now for the 3rd time. Even worse, we have some very high level, very highly respected, some of the people in poker that I respect very much so, coming out in arms, and they're up in arms is what I should say. Scott Seaver says the following: he should be barred from every casino in America. Jeez Louise. Another well-known poker pro, Joseph Chong, describes the hand to be very shocking. Look, it doesn't take a brain surgeon to understand that this is obviously a shitty situation. The problem now becomes is when people start saying ridiculous things, and I'll show some of the responses here, saying that, oh, it's his job as a player to count every single chip and to make sure that he was paid directly and yada yada yada. I mean, I guess that's kind of reasonable to some extent, but in reality that feels just ridiculous, right? I think you're owed in some aspect. We pay so much in rake is what I'm getting at. This tournament staff and the dealers, they got very few jobs, it seems like, and one of them should be to make sure you are given the proper stack. You know, you won the pot. So what's going on here? I gotta play poker. I gotta have a strategy. I gotta call bluffs. I gotta make bluffs. I gotta hero call. I gotta do these billion things. I gotta pay this massive rake. I gotta play in this tournament against a bunch of these killers. I gotta battle with the Euros. Oh, and then also when I go all in, I have to count every single chip one by one after I get paid out every single time to make sure that the dealer's doing their job. Look, that's fine. I'll do that, and I do that anyways. But there has to be some onus here by the staff. In my opinion, that is absolutely insane. What is a dealer doing? Literally just dealing out cards. But I will say this, and I have to say this. It is so important that the poker players that are playing right now take it easy and are fair and patient with the dealers that come out here. This is their first time dealing for a lot of these guys. Take it easy. Don't be a fucking asshole. There's so many of you. There is too many of you out there that are unbelievably rude to the tournament staff, specifically the dealers. You won't catch me doing shit like that. That's preposterous. That's some real beta activity. Don't be an asshole to any of these dealers. You know what you can be? Helpful. If they make a mistake, kindly correct them, and they'll learn, and they'll do a better job next time. I can promise you that. Sorry, had to mention that because that's really important. Obviously, this dealer made a mistake. From what I'm reading, Smith mentions later on that the dealer admitted to making the mistake, so, you know, at least that's fair. But like I said, in my opinion, it just seems crazy. Like, I have to do every single little thing. I can't trust anyone around me. Like, yeah, I guess that's fair. That's a reasonable take to have, I guess. But, like, come on. I put in my 5 million in chips. I get 3 calls, the main pot. Like, I'd hope the dealer can add it up and, like, give me the right pot. And if not, that's where the safety measure is. That is where I do agree with that, where, you know, it would be helpful if Mr. Smith did double check his stack, which he ended up doing. That's the worst part. He did do the right thing. He did call the tournament staff. He did all the things. He did all the measures, and he still got fucked over somehow. It's not making any sense. Why do we have all these cameras? I don't know. Doesn't make sense. And the worst part is, the person sitting back over here, cheating the game allegedly, Men the master, men the snake, allegedly, just gets to sit back and just chill out. Mr. Smith would unfortunately end up busting out in 25th place, if I'm not mistaken. So, sucks for him. I could not imagine how unfortunate this is. Obviously, big opportunity, big money to be had in the top places in this gladiator event, but, you know, unfortunately, it seems to not have panned out for him. I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say. I'll link all the articles and all of that stuff down below so you guys can read it for yourself and make your own opinions on the matter. But for me, this is maybe a part 1 of 2 of these of this video series where I can go deeper diving into the alleged things that Men the Snake has done. This ain't the first time I've seen stuff like this. I have seen this in person in tournaments that I have played with this character. So, yeah, I'll leave it to you guys. I hope you guys have a lovely day. Happy, healthy, and more importantly, run good to the tables, y'all. I really appreciate you guys for stopping by. Deuces!